That evening, Jack Lynch, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Ireland, made a dramatic intervention, which increased the tension around the Bogside, raising the expectations of nationalists and confirming the worst fears of unionists.
Good evening. It is with deep sadness that you and I, Irishmen and women of goodwill, have learned of the tragic events which have been taking place in Derry and elsewhere.
I remember hearing, I was on the street when I heard it, word spread, and I was very confused by the time it spread. It was reported that Jack Lynch had said, that he would send troops in. There were reports that the Irish army was massing on the border at Nixon's Corner, just a couple of miles outside the city. There were numerous reports that the Irish army had crossed the border, and indeed, people giving eyewitness accounts or reporting the eyewitness accounts of other highly reliable witnesses that contingents of the Irish army were just outside, the city boundary on the Letterkenny Road. All nonsense, of course, but there was wild rumours flying around like that.
It is clear also that the Irish government can no longer stand by and see innocent people injured and perhaps worse.
I was encouraged by it. I thought that it was, hey, this was tremendous. The Irish government are going to do something here. I had visions of, soldiers moving into Derry, representing the Irish government and effectively assisting the citizens in repelling the activities of the British state. And I think that it became quite clear to us within a very short time that wasn't going to happen.
It is obvious that the RUC is no longer accepted as an impartial police force.
All of that fueled the fires of concern and anger and indignation in the unionist community, and led them to believe that the worst fears that they had about the last 6 or 8 months were all justified. The fact that it didn't actually materialise, that the Irish army came to the border and didn't come into Northern Ireland, at that point that was lost in the unionist community, because their view was the intent was there to invade.
Very many people have been injured, and some of them seriously. We know that many of these do not wish to be treated in 6 county hospitals. We have therefore directed the Irish Army authorities to have field hospitals established in County Donegal, adjacent to Derry and at other points along the border.
We actually expect to see armed men, and then it became clear that what he actually was moving up was like first aid tents and stuff like that, and I think that they often misquoted as having said, will not stand idly by, but to all intents and purposes, with the exceptions of field hospitals, we felt, they did stand idly by. The song Jack Lynch, he had an army, had 10,000 men, he marched them up to the border and he marched them back again. And that's the way Jack Lynch's contribution to the Battle of the Bogside is remembered for me.
That night, word spread rapidly that St Eugene's Catholic Cathedral was under attack. In fact, it was not directly targeted, but the effect was to bring even the most conservative Catholics out onto the street.
There was a few incidents with the rumour went round that the cathedral was going to be attacked. I think there had been some nonsense incidents, a bit of bravado by some loyalists. Of course, people who had never been out before all of a sudden come out, the men with their collars and ties on.
The doctors, the solicitors, people like that. Let us defend the cathedral. Really, they were looking for an excuse to come out, if you ask me. To come out and join in what was essentially meant sometimes great fun, and there were Jesuitical discussions with priests standing there. I'm sure everybody's told the story, Father Mulvey. There's a petrol station near the cathedral, and he stands there and he said, "You may take the petrol but not destroy the station." Thanks very much, Father. And they defended the cathedral and everybody joined in. Stupid police, stupid loyalists.
It was in the violence at Great James Street that the RUC fired shots into the nationalist crowd, injuring a small number of rioters.
We all wondered, where's it going to end? If they started shooting at people protecting a church, how are we going to cope in the situation we're in? There was no possibility. We couldn't do it. And it was a very worrying time.
Having been faced with over 24 hours of large-scale violence, the RUC, ill-equipped and undermanned, were desperately overstretched. There was serious unease in Westminster.
Not only were the police tired, they weren't even given proper conditions. The simplest things like making refreshments available for them, giving them shelter and giving them rest and so on. All the things that had been done in London only a few months earlier in Grosvenor Square and the riots that took place there, which solved the situation for us. The Northern Ireland government didn't seem to have the capacity to do it then.
We were too far away from our base at Victoria, you know, to be able to sort of relieve half a dozen men at a time to go back and have a bite to eat or something. So, I mean, from we went out at 9 o'clock, 9:15 or something, we left the station. We didn't have any dates at all.
I mean, at that time we had a caravan at Bonoan, which is a seaside place about 25 miles from Derry, and we would have been there every weekend, but also for the whole period of the summer. But I do remember one night the caravan doors all being banged on, and the men of the families were asked to come to Derry, and I remember the phrase, "The police are being beaten into the ground, we need to go and support them." And what I do know is men were absent from Bonoan for several days, fathers and big brothers and stuff.
I do recall several occasions being down behind the police lines and the attacks going on. I remember some of the police officers being absolutely tired out. So when I was there, I was seeing all of this and seeing the frustration of many of the police officers, and some of them returning stones because they had very little else to respond to the rioters. But I, as a Protestant youth, felt that I was just there to try and shore up and help the police as they came under a continuing onslaught by Republicans.
We were getting regular reports about the situation from police sources. Of course, it's rather amusing that even governments, of course, very often heavily rely on the broadcasting media. But between police reports and broadcast reports, we were pretty well aware of a deteriorating situation.
As violence continued throughout the day, it was clear that there was chronic fatigue on all sides.
First day, everybody came in and they were head wounds, they were overcome with CS gas, and we brought them round and they went straight out again. They wouldn't even lie down for 5 minutes, they went straight out to the barricades again. Next day they came in, they lay down for a wee while, it got more reluctant to go out. They went out again, and by the third day when they came in, they collapsed there, and we had barely a bed to put anybody on. They were lying on the floor and they were lying everywhere.
I remember on the third morning I came home to brush my teeth or something, and it was 8:30 in the morning, and rat-a-tat my father walked. It's like, "How's the fight going?" "Very well, Daddy. I'm just home to brush my teeth." And he said, "Call him down for my breakfast." I said, "I'll go up and waken my mammy." And I come up into this very bedroom. This is the marital bedroom. And there's my mother in the bed. And on one side of her is a priest. And on another side is a university professor. And they're all lying under the blankets. The men, albeit, were fully clothed. I went back downstairs, said to my Daddy, "The breakfast will be a bit late. My mommy's sleeping with the priest and the professor." And he chuckled. I knew who the priest was and the professor. He was delighted. His wife could still handle the men, and they all come down for their breakfast. It was that kind of odd scene that you went and slept where you could.
Very, very quickly people, they fell in behind what was happening. They became a part of it, you know, and just as much as the guy down on the barricade throwing the stone was a part of the Battle of the Bogside, so was the wee woman sitting up at 3 o'clock in the morning making soup for him, you know.
The Bogside buzzed with reports that the much-feared B specials were appearing in different parts of the city. With renewed vigour, the rioters set about the defence of their area.